We're back on track and ahead of the pack with yet another stack of super sexy games to be scanned in this week's episode of Desura's Weekly Release Highlights. This week's episode is positively dominated by the futuristic and has set the stage with a heaping selection of anything you might want to see from the sci-fi genre. So hit those thrusters and set phasers to inconvenient bruising, and we'll be well on our way. First up on our list is Revolver Digital turning up the tempo on the tower defense genre with its newly released Defense Technica. Shift maps, guns, and traps across a campaign presented in sharp HD visuals and protect the core from being destroyed. Just when you thought the biomech monstrosities were the only thing standing against you, you'll also have to deal with shifting terrain and atmospheric pain as even the weather takes up arms and points them at you in a non-Care Bear approved way. If Defense Technica seems like just the excursion for you, it can be purchased on the Windows and Mac operating systems this week for $14.99. Defense Technica requires a Steam account in order to play. Steamy is one phrase I've never heard used to describe the sport of golf. However, in Surprise Attack's case, it's one half of the equation in their steampunk golf game, Vertiginous Golf. Packing controllable balls, kinetic transfer staves, maths, and a name I can barely pronounce, Vertiginous Golf takes an old concept and pushes it to the point of insanity. Packed to the gills with content despite its early access and offering the ability to customize courses, you can rest assured that the challenge will be both interesting and unending. Vertiginous Golf can be played on the Windows operating system this week for $14.99 and requires a Steam account to play. When all is lost and things are looking down for a destroyed humanity, what else is there to do but ascend? Ascent is at its basic parts a PvE space MMO in which players vie for literal space in a massive galaxy constructed from over an astonishing 270 billion star systems. With fully fleshed planets to embark upon, bases to be built in Atmo or in Zero-G, and the option to fully customize and build your own star cruisers, Ascent is on the fast track to being an astoundingly huge sandbox for players to carve in their image. Set at a price of $4.99, it's easy on the wallet too, so if the fat lady just hasn't been singing for your space opera needs, consider Ascent by Fluffy Kitten Studios. Ascent is compatible with the Windows operating system. Finding a programming game which blends both fun and technicality can be difficult to get up to code, but in this week's release of Glitchspace, we may have found the chosen one. Set in a digital world ripe for exploitation, the player manipulates the world around him to reach his goal and access increasingly more complex systems. A game which presents a problem, then allows the player to solve it in their own unique way. It's an uncommon thing in the action puzzle genre, and it's for just that reason that Glitchspace remains intriguing. So if you're hot to trot with a gun full of blocks and ready to schlock your way through network innards like electronic X-lax, jump on board Glitchspace's alpha today for $5.99 on the Windows, Mac, and Linux operating systems. Brace yourselves because there's a brash bunch of pixels headed your way. Some of them are dead, which is a problem, because as an investigator, it's your job to figure out how they played Nexies with a noose. Along the way, you'll find items, interrogate suspects, and generally bother everyone in your vicinity to varying degrees to get the information that you want. Make the wrong turn and you might end up wearing concrete shoes yourself, which is super lame because those things can cause some killer chafing. Noir Syndrome. It's out now for the Windows, Mac, and Linux operating systems and can be purchased through Desura for $6.99. Long ago, in the days of entertainment yore, gamers were gathered to the grouping of two sticks and the endless waves of foes standing in the way of absolute victory. But what happens when you take this premise and combine it with a loot-driven RPG roguelike? The amalgam would probably look something like the colorful crash of ideas presented in Gran Vitreous. Developed by Heliocentric Studios and set loose this week for $4.99 on the Windows operating system, Gran Vitreous is a roguelike which places players on a path of procedurally plugged plazas to ply their destructive trade as they grab new items and dodge hordes of enemies. Showcasing gobs of power-up goodies and interesting utilities, Gran Vitreous is ready to make you sweat, so grab it today. This might come as a slight shock, so you might want to sit down for a second as I'm about to unleash a revelation which will change the way that you view the world. You're not a banana. Jaw on the floor, not sure how to proceed with your suburban existence? Well, a good place to start would be by picking up You Are Not a Banana, a strange little game by Brian Cullen. A mishmash melange of ideas spawned in the Nintendo era, set to the nostalgic sound of cheery chiptunes. It follows the strange tale of a little man who, you guessed it, is absolutely not a banana. So if you'd like to figure out exactly how he secured his non-banana-hood, if such a thing actually exists, I suggest that you purchase You Are Not a Banana, available for the Windows and Mac operating systems, for $2.99. Space is looking a little bit emptier now that we've run out of games to gab about here at Desura's Weekly Release Highlights. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave us a comment, because if you don't, large goons who smell vaguely of cooked hamburger will drag us to the unemployment line against our collective will, and I'm almost positive you can't live with that on your conscience, right? Huh? If you're still feeling misinformed about any of the titles you saw here today, don't forget to check them out on our website, carefully and promiscuously planted below for your perusal. Thank you for joining us, and we will see you next week. Take care, everybody.